Hello, Catalyst. My name is Rodolfo Miranda from Roots ID. Roots ID is an open source development team that building self-sovereign identity products based on open standard. Today I'm going to talk about our project that we are closing. This is the final video report for the project that is called Glaive Network Superwatcher on Cardano. The ID of the project is 1100144, and this project is about organizational identity based on the Glaive network. Let me talk about Glaive. So this is the web page. Glaive stands for Global Legal Entity Identifier Foundation. This is a foundation developed by the most important countries in the world and regulators and other entities to create legal entity identifiers. So that means an identifier to companies, to organizations. A few years ago, they started also issuing a verifiable credential to those organizations in a project that is called VLEI, this one that you can find here. What they can do is issue a credential to organizations that you can prove that this organization have a legal entity identifier, and organization can also create another chain credential to person that represent that organization. So in a digital transaction between two organizations or two companies, they can really know who is on the other side of the transaction. So for example, there are many companies that already have a credential. Let me check if we can find, for example, Coca-Cola. So if you go to try to find Coca-Cola, you're gonna find different Coca-Colas, the Coca-Cola in the US, but also in the Netherlands. So it's important to know who you are talking to when you are trying to do a trade with different companies. Our goal as Roots ID is to make Cardano participate in the Glaive ecosystem. Hopefully, the Cardano Foundation is also working on the same path. So with that in mind, we start a few years ago with a project that was called and founded by Catalyst, that is called Cardano Backer. And in the last year, we finally got funded for this project that is called the Glaive Network Superwatcher on Cardano. We can go to the milestone and see that we already developed all the project and we get the approval in each of the milestones. And right now we are working on the final, that is the report, the final report. The final delivery of the project was the product itself that is hosted and public on a cloud instance in Amazon. You can find it in that URL. And I'm gonna show you a demo at the end of this video. The project is an open source development that you can find in the GitHub repository Roots ID Cardano Watcher, where you can see documentation, designs, but also how we organize it. Use milestones in the GitHub. We found it really handy. So if you go to the milestone, and of course now are all closed, you can see that we organize the project in the same milestone that the Catalyst milestone was provided. So for example, we created milestone 1 with the design and planning. The second milestone was the development of the prototype. In the third, the MVP. And finally, in the fourth, we deploy that to the cloud. So if you open one of the milestones, for example, you're gonna see all the detailed activities described in issues. So if maybe a reviewer wanna see what we do, they can go open to one of the issues and see all the details. That help us also assign resources within Roots ID. This is the main web page. You can see that the URL is cardano-watcher.rootsid.cloud. This is public. this is some simple dashboard with some metrics, number of AID being watched, and how many of them are anchored on the Cardano mainnet, how many witnesses, key events, witness availability. So one thing that I want to do first is create a new AID on the Cardano mainnet to see, because this takes time, so I think it's better to do it first. So then we're gonna see that is the system detect that new ID and gonna show the metric that is being watched. So let me do that first. I'm gonna create a new AID. Let's call it that way. So this is the hash of the transaction. We're gonna check that transaction later on. So meanwhile, I can show you how we can create and use the configuration tools. In order to connect as an admin, I need to go here and sign with my identification using Roots ID browser extension to support the Keri AIDs. Now we are logged in. We have the option to go to the admin webpage. Here you're gonna see all the witnesses and all the identifiers. We can maybe upload a new witness here. Let me do that as an example. So this is a witness from Roots ID. It's called witness 2. I'm gonna put that as an alias. I'm gonna create that witness. Take some time. It's going into the net. Now it's created. So if I go to the home page, I'm gonna see now we have 8 witnesses. And remember that in the past we have 4 Cardano AIDs. Now we have 5. So let me check exactly in a Network Explorer that this is in mainnet. So you can see here that there is a transaction in the mainnet with the AID. So also what we can do is check that this identifier is here. This last one is the one that was added. I can maybe copy the identifier ID and also query that one in that interface. And if you see here, you're gonna see all the details. This is like a raw material with the information plus the signatures. So you can go and see what that means in parsing that information. Those are actually signatures that signed by the controller, by one, and also one was detected by the Cardano blockchain. We can also create an AID manually. We can go to the admin, go to identifiers, and add a new AID. In this case, I wanna add a new AID that is hosted on a different provider that is called Provenant AID. I'm gonna tackle as watch. I'm gonna create it. So you see that was created. It's the Provenant AID. I can copy the AID and see if now we have the information for that AID. And as you can see that AID, they have several events, or 2 events actually. And because this is an AID that is watched by witnesses, you're gonna see here the witnesses, not only the controller signatures, there are those, but also the witnesses signatures. There are witnesses by 6, in this case, 5 witnesses that are also belongs in the witnesses page, you're gonna see the provenant are the ones that are from that provider. That was Roots ID Watcher. Hope you like it. This is a closeout report, but this is not the end of the project because there's more thing to do with the Glyph ecosystem. Thank you so much for the opportunity.